Tips. How are you? It's so nice to have you.
Good, and you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
having
for
us
having
here.
us.
Well, can you guys introduce yourselves a little bit?
Absolutely. I'm Chef Meg. I am a private chef and owner of the Salted Fig here in Nashville. The Salted Fig is a private chef service. We do a little bit of everything from events to dinner parties to in-home cooking and private residences. Our main specialty is definitely health supportive cooking, nutritious, any kind of like dietary restrictions our clients might have, we can cater to that as well.
Thank you, Meg.
Yeah.
I'm Chef Nina. Sometimes I only go by Chef. So if you call my name, I might be like, who are you talking to? I am the director and executive chef of Plantish & Co. And that's a range of services that I offer, from private chefing, pop-up dinners, communal dinners, corporate events, but I do a lot of consulting also. I've had over 20 years, and I'm a plant-based chef, so all vegan, over 20 years, and that's my specialty, but it encompasses so much on a cultural level.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you guys. It's so interesting to have you both here, and I love this different concepts and products and point of view. So let's just dive in. We're talking about marketing today, marketing strategies, marketing tools, and what you guys are doing to adapt to the world that we live in, because it's evolved so much. So if you guys could tell me what your marketing strategy looks like in a general scope, what's your biggest marketing tool, and, what do you like to do the most to get your business out there? Maybe like a little comparison from when you started and what you're doing right now.
Nina, do you want to go ahead?
Sure. I've taught marketing years ago, so I think just to set the table, when we talk about marketing, we're including the 4 Ps. So that's product, that's price, that's place, and that's promotion. And as you said, Paola, things have changed so much because place may not be mortar and brick. It may be, where you are and how you show up on social media, and as private chefs, are we in someone's home? Are we in a corporate office? Are we on a yacht? So place really matters in regards to how do you show up and where are you showing up. But some of the things, I have to look at all of those 4 Ps, let's call it. So I'll start with product, because we have to have a product to have anything to market. But so often I think, especially I'm going to focus on private chefs, we may put so much emphasis on the food. That's one part of the product, but we're the first product anybody is buying, especially with regards to a private chef. Now we're going into someone's home, typically, or we're going to an Airbnb, or we're going to a corporate entity. So I always like to emphasize, how do we look and how congruent are we? Physically, how do we look? And how congruent are we with the product that we say we're selling or we're providing, in this case, as a service? And then that's going to really have an impact. And I know we're going to talk about it in everything else we do, from our pricing, health supportive chef. The ingredients that we buy tend to cost more if you're getting into organic, or how you're sourcing. So we look at pricing. When we get into place, we'll talk more about that. And then when we get into just promotion, where and how are we promoting? I'm not shy to be in front of the camera. I have a lot of chef friends that don't want to be in the camera. They just want to be in the kitchen. But I think in this day and age, we have to really bring our persona as, to the forefront in marketing. So I'll start with that.
Thank you, Nina. So I feel like my marketing definitely has shifted. When I first started the Salted Fig in 2013, it was back in New York. And now, fast forward, I'm here in Nashville by way of Los Angeles, and social media has definitely been like the forefront of how business and myself. And I wholeheartedly agree with Nina, like the persona, like we're going into someone's house as a private chef. Like we're not in the back of a kitchen. So that's like a big part of it, is letting people know who we are, like what we believe in, our personality shining through. And that's probably like the main shift I've seen. I need to get better about being on camera. I have no problem with my food styling photos and taking little videos. I sometimes get a little camera shy when it has to be like on.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It is. Not a lot of people talk about that, but it's hard to put yourself out there. And especially because we see all this like trends and all this people, broadcasting their whole lives on social media, but it's really not easy. It's really a challenge to change from showcasing what you're good at, which is in this case your food, for example, your products, this beautifully created, colorful meal, and being like, "Hi, I'm actually Chef Meg,"
Yeah, like I would person here. And I think it's also like finding that line sometimes for me. I'm like, oh, like, is that too personal to share on my business page? Or is that like good because now like the potential client or even current clients like have a better idea into like, well, this is the actual person behind the brand.
I think that is a very interesting subject. You guys both have a considerable presence on social media, a big number of followers. What do you think that line is?
To identify it, as Meg said, there's how we are in our personal life, which should be personal. That's why it's called personal. And then it's how we are in our professional life. But I always tell people, there's that line, as you said, of I'm professional friendly, I'm professionally relatable, I'm professionally approachable. But there's a fine line in being professionally friendly and all those things I said versus too familiar for me personally, because you really can't retract that. So I think it's important in your branding, in your marketing plan, and all the things we said, your product, your price, your place, and your promotion, you define that line. You define that line as long as it always makes your brand shine.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Definitely like the personal stuff, right? Like there is like, again, that line of, yes, I'm a very warm and friendly like person, but this is also like work. So like there's that like in between, and putting like some things out there just maybe like wouldn't be appropriate in the business setting, and that's fine too, but you can still get to know like certain parts of me that like kind of are a little mix between the two things, so I think it's about that, finding that balance that like rings true for you personally.
Yeah, I agree 100% with the both of you. And chefs, you both have a wide range of products, if we can call it that, in your brands. Nina, you have the consulting, you have the athleticism, you have all this part that is dedicated to sports. Meg, you have your catering, you have your canned products, or it's not canned, what's the name?
Jarred.
Yeah. Jar. Thank you. Yeah. Jarred products and all these things that you were selling, literally selling physically. What is the difference between promoting those and promoting your private chef services, as in like marketing strategy?
Well, I will say with the products, because that's definitely a newer avenue of what I offer at the Salted Fig. That definitely has been a lot more. I put a lot more marketing efforts into making connections with other local vendors, like also commissary kitchens. Like what event can we be at where we can like feature our sauce? Like, is there a big holiday market coming up where we can have like a big table, and then we can actually have conversations with potential like people. And then from there, we can also talk about, oh, we also offer private chef services, and here's a taste of something we do. Like, these are our signature sauces that I'm selling. And as well as kind of going into like very grassroots, like going into local businesses. Like, I think this would be a great fit in your like artisan market at your store, rather than for, being a private chef. There's you can't really, until you taste the food, there's only so much you can show. Like, you can't smell it. You can't be like, let me just do a sample. Like, you have to, it's more of an experience. And that's like, I think the difference of how I market the two in a different way.
What about you, Nina?
I don't have what we'd call a tangible in a bottle product. I bottle myself. So even when I'm working or consulting, or I do a lot of public speaking, and I'll do demonstrations because that already entices someone to go, oh, I want to try that food. And because I travel a lot, it may not be, realistic that somebody I'm speaking to in New York is going to find me in LA and come to a pop-up that I'm offering. But I do, in my local area, being that Sacramento or LA where I'm from, I've had years of just showing up and being at tasting events. I think that is a wonderful way for private chefs that don't have a physical product, right? Or they're wanting to get there, but that is a wonderful way to market ourselves and be able to get people to taste our food and be ready to have a call to action, and that's something that you can have people sign up. You can get their email. I think people need to build their email list and not depend on social media to think we're connected on any of these platforms that we know and have seen can go down for a day. And some people, that is where their livelihood sits. So I really emphasize people building their email list. If you're going to give an ebook complimentary, I don't give anything free because it has value at that tone, especially as private chefs or just entrepreneurs, period. So if you're going to give something complimentary, just get that email. There's so many automated ways, you can offer something complimentary, build the value, sell the value, get that email and follow up. It does no good to have 1,000 email addresses if you're not staying in touch, because out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, of course. And I think what you're saying is super interesting because, honestly, out of the thousands of followers that you guys have, how many actually become clients? Like, I think probably a small percentage does, but sometimes with big online presences like both of yours, it's more of a portfolio. It's more of a people get to see who you are and see your stuff, more than a actual client obtaining method. I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe I'm saying something wrong here, but I do think when you get a certain number of followers and you get that big, it stops being realistic that all of those are going to potentially become a client.
Agree. And we're dependent on algorithms. And we're dependent on algorithms of every different platform we're on. And so, like you said, and I would think Meg would agree, it's a showcase for me. It's a portfolio for me. I do get business, but it tends to not be always private chefing. But for my local area, you've got to know to put your location in. So the algorithm knows to direct that you're in Sacramento right now. So we want to show those people. That has then brought business. So as private chefs, I'd like to say, many that I work with, like, I just love cooking. I just want to be in the kitchen. I just want to cook. Don't ask me to set the table. I just want to cook. Okay, well, today we have to wear many hats, or we have to have a team that can support us. And usually when we start out private chefing, we've got to be mindful of our finances and our budget. So you're not going to have that team. So you are wearing many hats. So be mindful of our days. We're already in the kitchen 12, 16 hours, depending on what we're doing. Where are you going to do your admin work? Where are you going to do the follow-up work? Where are you going to do the marketing work? And I think we just get exhausted. And so something's going to fall off. But social media, be very clear how you want to show up, how much time you want to show up. Look at your stats. And see, it's somewhat, oh my gosh, shocking to see sometimes when I look at my phone how long I've been on it. And you're like, oh, what I could have done with this time. So we really have to, like a diet, that we may follow, coming summer. we need to diet ourselves or put ourselves on a social media, just internet or anything that's not supporting us to bring in more funds, because we need to keep our business running.
Yeah, for sure. And Meg, this one's a little bit more for you. I think your background resonates a little bit more with the majority of people that end up becoming private chefs. So I wanted to ask you, looking at the monster that is marketing, because it's a very intimidating word.
Yeah.
If you don't like dissect it and start going through it, if they tell you, how are you going to marketing your business? Well, that's, oh my God, it's a lot. It's very intimidating. And you've gone from starting your business to cooking for celebrities as well as Lena, but it was a very different start for you. What do you think are these first steps that someone that is wanting to leave the kitchen and wants to start their own little private chef business and wants to get big and wants to end up cooking for Reese Witherspoon, for example? What are those first steps that you would be like, okay, this is your ABC on marketing and getting those first clients?
Yeah. So I think, when I decided to go back to culinary school, I was pretty clear that I wanted to go the private chef route, because I had worked in the back of a kitchen and the front of house as a college student in New York City. And I was like, restaurant life is kind of insane. I love cooking, but I don't want to be a chef in the back. So I had already explored private chef. And so when I did my externship, I decided to do it with established private chef. And, in the very beginning, I would just say like yes to things. Like, even if it seemed like this little thing, like you never know where that will lead, who that person will know, just like lots of networking in the beginning. And that's really what opened like some doors with me, like networking for potential clients, but also networking with other, especially for me, it's been with women in the private chef world, who then like we recommend each other. And that's kind of how it's like started, or we'll like collaborate together. And I got my first celebrity client in New York because I had networked with a private chef who was kind of like mid-career, wanted to spend more time with her family. And I was super like new and green and able to work 14 hours a day, like no problem. And just even doing that, I started off as her assistant and then took over the client from her when she was like ready to take a step back. And then that just opened up a lot of opportunities and doors. And I think also like trust among those people that I could execute the type of food that that type of clientele is usually looking for.
Yeah, I think that's a great advice. Say yes to everything in the beginning, definitely. Because there's like misconception that you need to find your niche. Of course, it's important to find your niche and not say yes to things that you have no idea how to do. But I think it's very important to just put yourself out there and say yes and do all the things and not charge that much in the beginning, even if it seems like, oh, this is probably not worth it. No, just go. Say yes. You never know who you're going to meet, who that small dinner is going to lead you to serve to. So I think that is an amazing advice. Nina, now looking at your background, you were always in this world of like the beauty industry and the celebrity industry. And it was like there's a lot of competition out there as well. So how was this process of beginning for you?
A niche, being plant-based that many years ago also was less available, let's say. People would say, yes, I can cook for you vegan, but a lot of times it wasn't their focus. And, it was like a side dish, in my opinion. So coming out the chute, being that, I started cooking with my dad at 8, so I swore I'd never be a chef. And he's not a vegan chef, so let's get that straight. But by the time I came into my own and decided this is something that I feel is going to have a future, it's going to trend. I was, like you said, into athletics. And so it was easy to focus on those people because the main question was, well, where are you going to get your protein to build muscle? And once I, cornered that, you kind of set yourself up as an expert. The other thing I think when we talk about niche, what are our private chefs? What are we expert at? How are we differentiating ourselves? And that's huge to determine what things you'll do pro bono. I don't do anything for free. So it's going to be, I'm giving you a gift, it's complimentary, or it's pro bono. Because then I write that off. I can write an invoice and put pro bono on it. So I come from a very strong business background. I know that. But I think these are elements that we can underlie and use as a foundation to determine those opportunities. Not every opportunity is an opportunity. It can cost us. And so I've been very focused from a very young age, being the eldest of 4 and, at 8 years old, cooking and taking care of others, that before business school, that I say my niche was one that I was very clear on. And I started a lot with desserts because no one asks where the protein is. Desserts are by default vegetarian. And as we progress, there's a lot more products that have come out that I don't have to. And I'm sure Meg understands this, whip up. I don't have to make nut milks or plant-based milks from scratch. There's more options out there. I'm still picky about the ingredients, but I think I've been very driven in my lane. Now there's a lot more out there. Now we're on social media and any and everyone can show up as a chef, and that's great, and then there's good food is good food. So the thing that keeps us here, the thing that allows us to show up on these formats and speak with you and take a chef and have repeat customers and get testimonials is that the proof is in the pudding, really is. And so I've stayed really in that because there's a lot of noise out there and you got to decide what trend you want to get on. What is that music trending fit my brand, or do I just feel like that for the day and I'm letting it out? But all of these things, I silence the noise, especially in this climate, and really look at where are the gaps? Where are the gaps that I can feel when everyone else is, running over to the right or to the left? And that's really been my success, to know me and not get, maybe from growing up, maybe you tap in on this, maybe from growing up in LA and being around celebrities a lot, being elbow to elbow, like at a same party, you don't get so caught up in certain climates and certain circles. Because when someone would say, and I had an interview and someone said, "Oh, you're a chef to celebrities," and I was like, "No, I'm the celebrity chef
of that."
And it wasn't cocky. It wasn't about cocky. It was about, people can say things and either you accept them or you kind of nicely, gently correct them. Yeah. Because they may not even be thinking that way. They've just heard everybody else. In LA, everybody's a celebrity chef. But I'm not celebrity because of the celebrities I cook for.
Right.
I'm celebrity because Meg and I are celebrity and other chefs in this seat because of the work we've done. When you tell me, "Oh, that dish was good," I'm going back to the kitchen and working to make it better.
Yeah, no, and 100% I agree with you. I think there's a lot to unpack in what you just said. First of all, talking about this part of being the celebrity chef and not just the chef to celebrities, I think a lot of people get confused because you guys, we are all in the service industry.
Yes.
That's like how is someone that is servicing other people going to be the celebrity? But in the end, celebrity is just you being known for being good at what you do and knowing how to showcase that. Yeah. So again, going back to what you were saying of finding your niche and finding your voice and, being able to showcase that's what makes social media so good to people who are already good at what they do. Right. And that's why you guys are still there. And that's why you still have the thousands of services, and you can turn down the ones that you don't want to do because you've reached that point, you know? And I also love this part of, you know, being able to find that essence and transmitting it, and people get to know you for you, you know, like they recognize you because you're Chef Meg, you're Chef Nina. And that difference is what the reason and the result of being good at what you do. I don't know if that means kind of twisting it.
I think people might miss the fact also what we do is we cook food, or my motto is, I cook food for people to live for, not to die for. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of thought put into that. When I was little, my grandmother used to say, don't come in this kitchen if you're angry. Do not touch my pots. The first ingredient I cook with, my grandmother would say, is love. And, you know, I think there's a lot to be said there, because either food is giving us life or it is slowly killing us. And that's the lane I go down. But at the same time, I want to be in kitchens I've run. Our energy is high. I'm telling people, not like my grandmother did necessarily, you know, I don't have a, are you happy check when you come in the kitchen, but teamwork and those kind of things. I think people have to be mindful of that. I'm sure, not speaking for Meg, but I'm sure she feels the same. I take really seriously when someone trusts me to cook for them. Family, or they're going to have a party, or it's going to be 400 people, that they trust that I'm going to get in that kitchen and not be trying to run out with all the celebrities and say, hey, I'm here too, and be focused on what I'm doing. So, you know, for chefs in our history, celebrity chef thing is kind of new. It's kind of new. As Meg said, you know, in the kitchen in the back, and the food came out, and once in a while the chef would walk out to the table, or that maybe was fine dining also. Otherwise, we've been in the back doing the grunt work, you know, cooking your food. If something spills, mopping the floor. So I say that with a lot of respect to say, you know, I can be that celebrity chef, because it's just like today we've got influencers. No one needs the middle person to say you're worthy or you have something that we should acknowledge. And so that's a part that I think psychologically, when new chefs are coming into private chefing, really sit with yourself and, you know, identify what you like doing that keeps you in your happy, you know, dance mode, when you know you taste something you're making and you're like, yes, this is it, right?
Yeah. You know, my brothers used to tease me so much. Well, they still do, because I have this like happy food dance, you know, but I like something, they're like, that's your fatty dance. And that's how I do. I'm like, this is good. I'm having a good time. And I love that you guys get to like portray that with your brands and your services, because you really do. Now going back a little bit to like basics, right? Because we can talk all day about the romanticism of being a private chef and the energetic part of it, but going back to marketing, quality photos, videos, and reviews. This is also like a really big marketing asset that not a lot of people like register, that it's really easy to get started with those, and they can help a tremendous lot. So what do you guys think about that, Meg?
So, yeah, I mean, quality photos are huge. One of the first things when I do get a new client or a prospect, it's pretty much tends to be like the first thing that's mentioned is the food looks beautiful. The colors, the presentation, all of that, because, you know, we eat with our eyes first. So it has to look appealing and has to look good. It invites people to want to try it for themselves. And as well as I think reviews are like huge. You know, I know even when I'm finding a service such as who's the good person to go to in town for my haircut, right? Like I'm reading those reviews to see, like I want to hear other people's experiences. So definitely like I think reviews are huge, either like Google reviews, testimonials on your website are great. Anything like that is definitely a big help for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I invite anyone that's listening to go check out Chef Meg's page, The Salted Plate. It's so gorgeous. Like the plates just look so beautiful. It's so colorful. You just want to immediately makes you hungry. You want to eat everything.
Thank you. Goal achieved.
What do you think? We have the power of our phone in our hand, and most cameras are good. Learn the filters, learn how to work with your camera settings. And half the time, it just means cleaning that lens before you start shooting a photo. The number of times I look like, oh my gosh, it's so easy to clean it and it doesn't cost you anything. But yes, figuring out how to set up a studio in your kitchen, you what's in the background, what's distracting from the focus, knowing, centering your photo. I mean, I think if we're going to take this on and I've worked with some really great photographers, so I've learned a lot. My grandfather was a really great photographer, very different time in life though. But I think you have to, again, I take everything as, okay, how does this look? What is the positioning? What am I trying to focus on? I've invested in my lighting. I mean, 2020 sent us all in a tailspin. Whether you could work with a photographer or not, you couldn't. So you had to set up your own, photo session and photo studio, if you will. So my kitchen always has the lights in there. I've just stopped taking them down because content is queen. So you also have to remember there's certain things you're doing when you talk about videos. Can I get that B-roll? B-roll is very important, buy more space so you have more storage or be able to store it somewhere so you can use that, because someone can just have a trending sound where all you hear is heels and they're lifting a cup of coffee. I mean, we have to deal with that. We have to somewhat compete with that, but know with your photographs, clean your lens, get your shots, know what you're focusing on, have good lighting. I don't have in my own home, a lot of windows to work from. So I have to use more artificial light and know how to soften that and focus that. Testimonials are value and gold. So I ask for testimonials. I ask, is it okay to use your testimonial on my website or any material where I'm promoting what they're saying? That's not anything new to get testimonials. This new day age of reviews, we can run through 50 reviews. Half will be good, half will be bad. How do you really know? So I kind of look outside and read things about it and look at the food. But I think testimonials are the easiest to get, because not everybody's going to use your service and go right to Yelp or Google or other platforms. So we have to, in my opinion, read between the lines on those reviews, because I've been to 5-star places by review. And I star was what I gave, but it's
Yeah.
Oh, and that's so important too, because it's awkward. It's awkward to ask for those things, to ask for the review, to ask to use a testimonial. But honestly, I feel like 95% of the time, they're going to say yes without even thinking about it. Like, if they're taking the time to do the review, they're going to want you to use it. And if they forgot to, because most of the time when they don't leave a review is because they can't be bothered or they forgot. So if you insist a little bit, it doesn't really take a lot of effort from you, and it can impact so much your business and your credibility. So
it is,
the
other thing we should think about, because I learned very early when I first started working, someone's told me, don't judge what's in someone else's purse because what's in yours.
I like that
far. So if we think about, if most people think, oh, I'm a little uncomfortable to ask for a testimonial, this person's already paid you for your service. They already like what you're offering. They might even come back. The fact that we step out on that fear, false evidence appearing real, and ask is showing them how much we value what we do. And it may not be like, oh, they're going to hug us and go, oh, wow, no one asked me that. We've got to get out of our fear state gently. I understand. I didn't come out of my mother like this. I learned from failure. I learned from mistakes. I learned from the thing I feared most just wasn't real once I decided to walk through the door.
Yeah, of course. And, staying on the subject of technicalities, investments, and platforms, what tools do you guys use? What do you think it's worth investing on marketing-wise? Because there's a lot of ways to do it for free, but I think there are some things that are definitely worth, putting a little bit of money into. So what do you guys think?
I think it varies a bit, but, number one is, it does make a difference. Like when people are like Googling you do want to show up like right on the top of that page. You want to be on page one because most people, they're not going to invest the time to go to page 5, or they won't even consider it because you're like, oh, well, they're not on page 1, so they must not be. There's just an idea that good, like there's an idea associated with being the top search, and sometimes that costs money at Google ads, Yelp ads. I prefer Google more so. I think also if you can, it does really help like team wise to have somebody to either help you with it or that you can kind of give that over to on some level, because especially when I was starting out, I was trying to do everything myself. Like I was cooking, I was getting clients, I was the accountant, I was, the marketing, PR, publicity person as well. Like it's just like a lot for you to take on by yourself. So being that marketing is just such an integral part of what brings in new business and even keeps business or lets people know that you even exist, it is worth like putting money into those like different marketing avenues.
What do you think, Nina?
I think we have to do our due diligence. And, as Meg said, it matters that you're at the top of that first page, but do you understand SEO, search engine optimization? And it's not that hard to understand it. You don't have to go and get an MBA with these things, but we do need to understand what do we need? And that comes back to what is your marketing plan? What year are you in? Where do you want to be next year, 2025? Are you already working on your 2025 plan? Actually, did you start like in August? Start looking forward to what 2025 is going to look like, because boom, you're going to wake up and it's here. And some people are celebrating January 1st, and some are like feeling overwhelmed because they've got so much on their plate to carry. So for me, yes, search engine optimization is important. Know what dollars you're going to spend, whether it's Yelp or whether it's Google. I will try a platform and I look for first free to test it out. Like you'd go test drive a car, make my mistakes in the free area and learn there. And then usually I'll decide, oh, am I going to spend this money to keep using this platform? I mean, we're getting hit daily with AI and all these different things you should get on. And it just boggles the mind. It's like, wait a minute, let's pull the lens back. Let's pull the screen back and go back to your marketing plan. What are you trying to achieve will be the guiding light to what you need to invest your money in and when. And if you're just starting out, don't try to tackle all of this. Meg, we didn't tackle all of this from the beginning. I promise you, we've got years behind us. It doesn't mean it'll take you years, though, with the technology and the access and finding the right people to work with. But if you don't have a plan of action, first of all, keep it simple. Keep it smaller.
Yeah, funny. Going back to what we were saying, the monster of marketing, right? Look right in the face and you're like, oh, what is the first time I heard about SEO, I was like, what in Japanese is that? Like I have no idea what any of this means, but it sounds complicated. It's not. It's so not complicated. You just have to literally take the deep dive and destinate a couple of hours to find out what they're talking about and what you can do for your business in half an hour with your computer, So yeah, I think you guys are both completely right. It's important to get help from someone that knows how to do it, because usually that's not your expertise. But you can learn. And especially it's important to, it's your business. You want to know what's happening in it. Even if you're not an expert, you need to understand this concepts.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And to commit to consistency. Because if you start and stop because you don't see any traction or you're not seeing anything come from it in the time frame you believe it should, this can take 6 months to see some traction from things you're putting in. So you have to identify what you're committed to and stay consistent. If you're going to show up on social media 3 times a week, make it 3 times a week. If you're going to show up on social media 5 days a week, make sure you can do that. But do not listen to every self-appointed social media expert out there or marketing person out there or SEO expert out there without doing some work to see how successful are they.
Yeah, of course, 100%. And before we finish, you guys, do you have any final advice on marketing? Summing it up.
Ooh, it's a big word to sum up. I love what Nina just shared about consistency. I think that is just so huge. And also, as far as canceling out, we are so inundated with so much noise, so many experts, quote unquote, staying kind of true to like what works for me, what can I deliver on, it sounds and feels true to me and my brand, and like pick that like route to go, as well as, invest some time into doing some research for yourself and see like, where can I take some things off my plate, but where can I just learn how to do this so I understand, and that can be part of my marketing plan as well. And as well as, network.
So you guys, thank you so much. There is so much insight, and this conversation has been so interesting. So everyone listening, go ahead and check out their websites and their profiles: The Salted Fig, Botanical Chef, Chef Meg Miller, Chef Nina Curtis. You guys can call me your groupie already. Yeah, I love you both. So
Love you.
Thank you.
We saw you.
Yeah. Amazing. And I will talk to you guys soon.
Okay, so
Been happy
so much.